I'm glad that all the queens and kings are on the line today. Thank you for joining us today at the African Trade Network. And we are about trading and business and coming together. We are here for you, and we want you to be a part of our African Trade Network here. And we are so grateful that you have come to join us today. We have some exciting things coming up with our organization, conferences, a bunch of different events for children, for elders, for middle age, just a bunch of events coming together. And we want you to be a part of that. So thank you so much for joining us. I am going to start us out today with turning it over to our CEO, King Franklin Marshall.
Thank you so much for coming today and being a part of African Trade Network. We are an organization working to help educate our members and reaching out to gain more members on becoming educated on business self-sufficiency. We have a course that we are doing on an ongoing basis starting September on our business courses that we're doing, and we invite everyone to be a part of that. We have events coming up in the park, October 29th in San Francisco. So we'll be posting all of those things soon on our website. So we're excited that everyone is here today, and we will be hearing from me a little later. And now we'll turn it back over to Queen Lima.
Yes. Okay. Thank you so much for that, King Marshall. So let's start out today. I'm so glad to see Queen Linda, who has joined us. She's going to be sharing with us today on conferences, and she's going to share a little bit with you today about her journey, and an amazing journey. This woman has experienced so much in her lifetime, and I could literally sit and listen to her for hours, but we have 10 minutes for her today. She's going to come with us and share with us her richness of things she's experienced in her life, places she's gone, and she's going to share with us about the different types of conferences. We have a huge conference that's going to be coming up on October of 2023. And so we are privileged to have her to share with us about the different types of conferences, things that we need to begin to prepare for conferences. If you're a part of this African Trade Network, we definitely want you to be a part of that. Even if you're not, we want you to be a part of that. It's going to be really amazing. So thank you so much, Queen Linda, for joining us this morning. We're so honored to have you. And I will give the floor over to you. So we are now going to have Queen Linda to share with you. As I was saying early, she's absolutely amazing, an honor and a jewel to know. She has done so much in her life. She's going to come and bless us with her presence and sharing with us about that, and also about conferences, the different types of conferences. If you don't know, we will be launching a huge technology conference in October of 2023. So she's going to come to us and share with us about the different types of conferences and some key points for planning a conference. Because I don't know if you've ever planned a conference or not, but it's a lot of components. And so she's going to share with us those things and whatever else she would like to share with us. She's Queen Linda. So please share with us, Queen. So glad you're joining us this morning or this evening, depending on what part of the globe people are on.
Well, thank you so much, Queen Leba. And I decided to get on camera, even though I'm totally not prepared for that visual. But It's a little hard to be off camera and connect with people. But I wanted to thank you all for your introductions. And as you may have noticed, if you're monitoring the chat, I made notes about what I heard and commented and made some connections. So the first thing that I will say about myself is that I'm a connector. I connect people to other people who they need to know. Usually, on my first encounter with someone, I end up, after I get their story, I'm very curious about people and I always want to hear their story and have a sense of who they are as a human being. And that because I'm, from the Steve Covey principle of, seek to understand and then to be understood. So that's how I try to walk in this world. And so I made some connections there. And I'm always excited to meet new people and learn from people because that's how I know what I know. I mean, I went to school to learn some stuff, but most of what I know I learned from other people and traveling to, I think, 52 countries now and living overseas in Egypt in my early career, where I was the head of human resources for Citibank in Egypt in the mid 70s. And that started me as what I would call a global deviant. I'm better outside of the US, actually, or with people from outside of the US. There's just a lot to work through for people who are raised here in this country, especially people of African descent who may have lost their connection to the mother country. And having spent time first in Egypt where everyone looked like me, that's why they picked me. And there's a little video I'll send to you all that my son, who is a filmmaker at Emerson College, currently in a castle in the Netherlands for his study abroad program, he did like a 3-minute video of me for a class project, and it talks about my early career in Egypt and what that experience was like. I'll send that to you all. And I'm very proud of my son, by the way. A lot of what I learned is from him. So when I write a book, my first one will be just Conversations with James. Anybody named James? That's why I promoted you to King James, James Gumba. And sorry to mispronounce your name.
That's
Too early
one
for me.
number, but it's pretty
Okay,
close. Thanks. Yes.
directionally correct. Okay, so I haven't had my second cup of coffee, so I just wanted to say I am honored to just be here. I'm just going to talk for a few minutes because I'm really available and accessible on my LinkedIn, and I'll share my LinkedIn profile. So please connect with me there. I think the only other thing I'll say about myself, because it sort of connects me to Donald. My first meeting, Donald Steiny was talking about angel investing. And I chimed in, kind of the peanut gallery because I am an angel investor and have been. I've just sort of, gone into that organically. But what I do for a living primarily is I love to coach Black and Brown founders, mainly of tech companies, but I also actually love coaching creative people because I came out of I have the soul of an artist and went to the High School of Art and Design in New York. So I always was going to be an artist, but now I'm an art collector and a patron of the arts. So I do like coaching people and helping them be on purpose and understanding what their purpose is and then how to manifest that purpose in their business or their entrepreneurial activities and just in their life and their relationships with people. So that's kind of what I do. Very hard to describe, but people who get to know me, they understand what I do. So in terms of the conference stuff now, gosh, so I will just say my conference experience really began when I was planning a conference for. So my mentor is a man named Ken Coleman. He's considered to be the godfather of Black Silicon Valley. And so Ken Coleman, who you should Google, he hired me out of business school, and I went to work for him at Activision. And Ken was the head of what was then called, and I guess it's still called, the Peninsula Association of Black Personnel Administrators. So, and we're Black HR folks. And the organization had been around for years, and Ken was one of the founders. And so he said, "You need to plan the conference this year." Okay, I didn't even know. I mean, I'd been to one PABA meeting, but because I worked for him, he said, "Please plan the conference." So I said, okay, so then it was like, what's your theme? Who's your audience? Um, can you get a rainmaker, marquee name there that'll get people's attention? So this was 1984, 83, 84. And so I decided to go get Earl Graves, Earl Graves Sr., who was, of course, the founder and publisher of Black Enterprise magazine. And I remember this very clearly because I just wrote to him. We had a committee, but, I was just kind of like, what do I want to do? I check in. So I reached out to Earl Graves, and he told me he wanted $3,000 in first class airfare and hotel accommodation. So I said, okay, that's what you asked for. And so then I went to the committee, and they're like, you did what? And I said, yeah, we just raised the money, right? So we did raise the money, and then Earl Graves came, and everyone was shocked because they'd never had anybody quite of that magnitude. And I don't know if everyone outside of the U.S. knows Black Enterprise magazine. It doesn't have as much of a global spin as I would like to see them have, but that's okay. Maybe more now that Butch has taken over Earl Graves' son. So anyway, when after the keynote, I presented the check for $3,000 to Earl Graves, and he said, "You mean you're actually going to pay me to come out here and speak to Black personnel people who can take ads in my magazine? You're actually paying me the honorarium." And I said, well, yes, that's what you asked for. But anyway, that was hilarious to him. And just hey, you asked for it, that's what I give you. So I try to walk with integrity. Whatever we agree to is what I do, right? So anyway, from that experience, I realized how much of a big undertaking it was for all volunteers, which is the first thing. So if you have an organization that has paid staff, that's great, because I've certainly done a number of conferences where we didn't have any paid staff to get stuff done. And so this is an organization which I believe is all volunteers. So that would be my first statement is, do you have staff? Can you pay people to get certain things done? Do you have your budget? Do you know how much it's going to take? Do you have your theme? Do you know who your audience is clearly? Have you defined what, look ahead to October next year and say, who's going to be in the room? What are we going to be talking about? And what are they going to come away with as a call to action? Those are the three things I would suggest your committee, your team of people, which hopefully is also global, as this group is, coming from as many different countries as you can manage to get through the time zone issue. So I would say those three things are really important, and then really being clear on the vision. So I started earlier this year. This is more of a small thing, but next week I'll go to Baja to run the very first Black Modern Elder Academy in Chip Conley's Modern Elder Academy in Baja, Mexico, which is an academy to harness our wisdom and manifest our purpose for people over 40. And so Chip Conley decided that he wanted to see more Black people instead of a lot of privileged white people coming through in the 4 years that they've been there. So last year he decided to do a Black Modern Elder Week. So I was hired by Chip as the project leader. And so that's a smaller thing. It's a learning thing, right? And it's a program that's a combination of a transformational learning program and a retreat kind of thing. So that's on a smaller scale. But the main thing I would say is to make sure you have the vision and values, the long-term vision, because it's not just what's happening, the week of October 9th through 16th. That's important. It's what comes after that. It's how people feel coming out of it, and their ability to be very clear and intentional about their impact on the world. So that's a pretty big charter. And then the other piece that's definitely easier to say than it is to do is building a beloved community. One of our sages, which is what we call our guest faculty, has been with the King Center for many years, and that King Center talks about building the beloved community. So now, Black people, we talk about the community all the time. And what I have found in the course of this year, planning this week, is that we need to understand what that means to be a beloved community and how to work together as Black men and women. And I'm going to underscore the Black men and women. So we have to get through a lot of things that go on between genders, and then the issue of colorism. And, I will say right now, I am a person who, I was in a conversation with someone and she was trying to recruit me for a couple of organizations. And I said, I may look this way, but I'm just not that bougie. I just can't, I don't belong there. That's not my tribe. I'm sorry. So I'm just saying that to say, we have colorism, we've got our trauma that we got, from our ancestors. We're still mad at Africans for selling us into slavery. I'm saying, all of this is going on, and I know you don't disagree with me about any of that. So we have to pick through all of that and help people process the trauma of just being Black in this world, no matter where it is, whether it was colonialism or the Middle Passage and Jim Crow and slavery. We all have it, so it's in our DNA. So I'm just going to say having the right team is critical. I do talent, and I'm the first person to say, and I think I brought this up in a conversation that Chip was having with the founder of Tom's Shoes last week. And I asked him, how does he feel about the adage of being slow to hire and fast to fire? And he said, absolutely. The only regrets, the real regrets he has of Tom's is that he hired the wrong people. They brought the wrong culture. They brought the wrong behavior. And he needed to have the courage to fire them as soon as he figured it out. I mean, appropriately and with grace. I have an HR background, so we know how to do that. But I'm just saying that's really important to have the right team, and that you have to be aligned around the vision. So, Ken and I are working with an organization now that I would have to say is kind of a turnaround, because there's a division around what is the vision, what is the purpose, who are we serving. And so until we get aligned on that vision, on who we're really serving, and get over being self-serving, there's some of that behavior going on, we cannot prosper and we cannot bring our people to where we deserve to be. So that's where I am. I also want to say one thing about allies, and that I think it's important for us to embrace our allies, not to fear our allies or to put on allies the baggage that their ancestors may have subjected us to. So I'm glad to see that this organization does seem to be open to people who may not be people of African descent, because it's really about, are they aligned with the purpose of who we are? So with that, I will stop, and I'm open to any questions that anyone may have. Well, then, and I'm happy to talk a little bit more detail. Let me talk about one that I've been involved in since the very beginning, and it's now, I would say, 39 years running, and that is the Black Business Conference at Stanford Business School. And so when I was there as a student and came to the Stanford Business School in '81, there was no Black student organization at the business school for some crazy reason, but they, for reasons unbeknownst to us, they had admitted 22 Black students that year. So we started the Black Business Conference that goes on annually. And so we did it as first years and as second year students, which is no small undertaking when you're trying to get through business school. And so that's going on. It's 39th year, I think, this coming year. And so that undertaking, we were real clear. Our mission to start with was get the Black alumni to come back. We want to know them because they can help us. We need that relationship with our Black alumni from Stanford Business School. So that was the main reason we did it as students. And then getting the team together, not all the students, there were 22, but maybe it boiled down to 6 or 7 of us who had the energy and passion to make a conference happen. Says we needed to go get our funding sources, so we had to go talk to the administration and get the funders. And so that's similar here. You get your sponsors lined up so you have money. And that's a little different process for an academic institution, but it's pretty much the same process. Figure out who's going to support this and who do we want to get the money from, and you have to have a team of people just focused on that. And you also need to make sure that you're using your, you really need to think about marketing and promotion. I notice a lot of events get promoted at the last minute and are not, targeting broadly enough the right audience, because people need to hear things 5 times before they go, okay, yeah, let me pay attention now, because that's or, it's at least the 3rd time somebody said something about this. So you need to have that machinery. You need to have the capability to do it, know how to use digital media, social media, and all of the things that are available to us. You need to have leadership. You need to have leadership of the program who are able to stay the course and have amazing skills of diplomacy, and to deal with all your different constituents, and keep the team focused, motivated, and having fun. I mean, I have to bring the fun, because all the seriousness gets to be overwhelming, because life has its own challenges. So if it's a volunteer effort, you got to make it fun somehow and make it a learning opportunity for everyone. And then I would say, I don't remember, it's been so long of our budget, but now the conference is probably coming up again. It's usually in February now. And it's pretty huge, and includes like a pitch, which is something you might want to consider, that the students pitch their business ideas, and they have a half a day or a day to pitch to everybody who's there at the conference, and they get angel investment funds from that. So it would be really great to build something like that in. I don't know what your design is right now, but since obviously you're serving a community of entrepreneurs, I'd love to know about some of those business opportunities. And a few of you mentioned things going on that I'm like, yeah, what that? I want to know more about that. So it's in the chat. I think that's as technical I can get in terms of that. I would say also just using alliances, because there is another organization that I've been to their conference, which is the African
Diaspora Network.
Yes, thank you. And they're kind of down in the South Bay, like based in Santa Clara or something like that. But I've been to their events also. So I would say that I don't know if there's room. You all should be working together. So I don't know what they're going to be doing, in October next year. But I think that talking to them now and getting them on board as a sponsor or a collaborator or a partnership would probably behoove you, because you're stronger together anyway. So yeah, those are my thoughts about that.